Someone who worked with the late Aringo will be the last member to pay tribute, the Honorable Adan Kainan, member for Eldas.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I remember when I was elected in the 8th Parliament as a young legislator, and members of Parliament were working as if Parliament was an extension of office of the President, though constitutionally Parliament was one of the three arms of government. The Honorable Aringo, for those of us who have been around and who have worked with him, remember him as a courageous, foresighted parliamentarian who thought out of the box. And for those of us who are there, we have nicknamed him as the father of Parliamentary Service Commission. Madam Speaker, when I was first elected, my gross salary was about 33,000. With no office, with no car, with no bodyguard, with nothing at all. Even the structure, madam, at that particular time, of the House of Business was a club of the senior ministers. Bringing a private member's bill was the most difficult thing. The Honorable Aringo, and I want the colleagues here to remember, brought a private member's bill, and that private member's bill, Madam Speaker, was difficult to have it go through the House Business Committee. That made us call a Kamukunji at 3 a.m. when even the late Mzee Kibaki, who was in hospital, was removed from hospital to come and participate a Kamukunji at 3 a.m. in where you have tea. Ultimately, Madam Speaker, we had to revolt. We had to revise everything until the government then gave consent to the private members' bill. That is what gave birth to the current Parliamentary Service Commission, and that is what removed us from the yoke of OP, Office of the President, and that is what gave us an independent Parliamentary Service Commission, and that is what made Parliament an independent entity. One thing that I always remember Honorable Aringo for, he was de-whipped because of moving that particular bill by his party then. But we as members of Parliament again decided to say no PSC without Aringo, and therefore and affirm the Honorable Aringo as the first vice chair of the Commission. Is it possible today, colleagues? Do we have that teamwork? Do we have that comradeship? So wherever he is today, for those of us, all the benefits that we enjoy today as members of Parliament, Madam Speaker, and allow me to say this, even the staffers here, our clerk was a special DO. All our staffs were staff from OP, CID, special branch, and everywhere else. So the kind of quality staff that you have here, facilities that you have here, the benefits that you enjoy here were all as a result of the brainchild of the Honorable Aringo. So let's remember him as a dignified, as a brilliant legislator, and wherever he is, may God rest his soul in eternal peace. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
So, honorable members, let us all be upstanding for a minute of silence in honor of the late Peter Aringo. May God rest the soul of the late Honorable Aringo in eternal peace. Did we have another statement? Just hold on. Okay, Honorable Atandi, you had a statement? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Request for a statement regarding circumstances surrounding the death of Mr. Willis Ayeko Onyango. Honorable Speaker, Pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44-2C, I rise to request a statement from the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security regarding the death of Mr. Willis Ayeko Onyango of ID number 11438772. Honorable Speaker, on 23rd of October 2024, the body of Mr. Willis Ayeko was found at Mugowere Stream in Yala, SHA County, having been brutally murdered under unclear circumstances. At the time of his death, Mr. Ayeko was a senior executive at Wells Fargo Limited, serving as the Director of Human Resources, where his role included overseeing investigations of high-profile cases involving loss of colossal amounts of money and undertaking administrative actions against senior staff found responsible for the disappearance of such funds. It is alleged that the roles played in his work may have significantly contributed to the circumstances leading to his death, which investigations are yet to be concluded. It is imperative that justice is served swiftly and transparently, as the family and friends are greatly burdened by the unresolved circumstances surrounding his tragic demise, thus exacerbating their grief. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security on the following. 1, a report on the circumstances that led to the death of Mr. Willis Ayeko, whose body was found at Muguere Stream in Yala, SHA County. 2, measures put in place by the Ministry of Interior and National Administration to ensure that the family of the deceased gets justice following the murder of their kin. And 3, provide the timelines in which investigations will be undertaken and when the findings will be made public to provide clarity and closure to the family. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. That particular question, is the Chairperson for Internal Security and Administration present? Okay, on behalf of Leader of Majority, I think the whip. Oh, Dido, you're the Vice Chair. You can give assurances of when you can have this ready.
We'll respond in 2 weeks, Madam Speaker.
What's your point of order, Honorable Muhia?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. On 15th of October, I raised a statement in regard to the road which crosses Nyandarua County, and the chair of Committee for Roads was represented by the leadership. Until then, I've not heard anything from the committee, no commitment, and the public is still suffering for lack of bumps in that Kinagop, Kipipiri, or Kalau Road.
Honorable TJ, do you have a response on behalf of your chair to what Honorable Muhia has raised?
Well, first of all, Madam Speaker, I think we owe an apology, a serious apology to the honorable member. The dates that she's speaking about are long overdue, and we don't do business such like that in the committee. I think there must be some practical issues, either with the agencies concerned or the report writing. Madam Speaker, allow me to be able to return to this House tomorrow through the relevant chair to let this member know exactly when she will have her statement, and again, apologies to that honorable member. Thank you.
And I think, Honorable TJ, you can inform your committee where in a case that a cabinet secretary or a state department does not respond on time after you have requested for the response, you can then take the action of summoning them to your committee, rather than wait for their communication.
Exactly, Madam Speaker. That is what we do. And Madam Speaker, you know, in a committee where yours truly is a member, we get very sometimes very rough with the cabinet secretary. So it is not because we do not do our work diligently. I am sure there must be a mechanical problem that is holding this statement. But tomorrow, the chair will let you know when you'll have this statement.
Thank you. Let's move to the next question by the Honorable Gonzirai, member for Kinango. Oh, there are also responses by Honorable TJ. You are ready with that response?
Yes. Yes, Madam Speaker.
You may proceed.
We always are ready to respond as members would wish us to. So this is a request for statement regarding the deterioration of Marere Bridge in Kwale County. Honorable Speaker, on Wednesday, 19th September 2024, the member for Kinango constituency, Honorable Gonzirai, MP, requested a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure regarding the deterioration of Marere Bridge in Kwale County. Honorable Speaker, the statement that Honorable Rai sought to establish, amongst other things, number one, the current status of Marere Bridge, which is a critical infrastructure for residents in Kinango sub-county. Number two, that the specific measures being put in place by government to reconstruct the Marere Bridge, including a detailed timeline for completion. And number C, the immediate interventions being taken by the Ministry of Roads and Transport to ensure the public safety and further ensure maintenance of that bridge upon its reconstruction. Honorable Speaker, the committee received a response from the Ministry of Roads and Transport through the Clerk of the National Assembly, which I now wish to make before the plenary. Honorable Speaker, number one, as regards the current status of Marere Bridge, which is a critical infrastructure for the residents of Kinango sub-county, the ministry submitted the existing Marere Bridge is located at some 114460 along Kwale Kinango B92 road, and is a single lane structure which with an overall span of 80 meters, consisting 8 spans, each measuring 10 meters. The reinforced concrete bridge deck is 4 meters wide and without pedestrian walkways. Number two, that the bridge has undergone structural deterioration, prompting the need of replacement. However, the bridge is physically intact and is being monitored consistently to ensure it remains of sound condition. The bridge, which is planned for construction, will be 120 meters long, comprising 6 spans, each spanning 20 meters. The bridge deck will be 11 meters wide, accommodating 2 vehicular lanes, each 3.5 meters, and 2 meters wide pedestrian walkways on either side. Mr. Speaker, regarding the specific measures put in place by the government to reconstruct the bridge, the ministry submitted that the Kenya National Highways Authority, KENHA, awarded a contract for the construction of the upgrading of the road to bitumen standard to MS China Civil Engineering Construction Corporation in joint venture with Saxon Investment Limited in 2021. The construction of the new bridge is included in the scope of works under this contract. The work commenced on 4th of August 2021 with a completion period of 36 months and a defect liability period of 24 months. Lastly, currently the physical progress of the work is only 8.4%, whereas the elapsed time for completion is 97.2%. The implementation of the bridge works has not yet commenced. Notably, the project is financed under the GOK development vote and has experienced financial constraint, with only 7.5% of the contract sum paid to date. These funds were partially used to settle 10% of advanced payment. There is need for adequate budgetary allocation for the timely disbursement of the funds to fast-track the construction of the new bridge. Honorable Speaker, regarding the immediate interventions being undertaken by the ministry to ensure that the maintenance of the bridge upon its reconstruction, the ministry submitted that despite delays on the project, the contractor on the site is under instruction to continuously maintain the existing bridge. This is to guarantee that it remains in use by the current traffic. Mr. Speaker, so I submit.
The Honorable Gonzi Rai. Honorable Gonzi Rai is not in the house. Yes, Honorable Kimani Kure.
Honorable Speaker, I raise under Standing Order 87.5 to raise a concern about the roles and the structure of the Senate and that of the National Assembly. Honorable Speaker.
Order, Honorable Kimani Kuria. We are not yet there. We are in the middle of another business.
Well,
so Honorable Gonzi Rai is not there. We'll take it. Honorable TJ Kajwang, that the response you have given is adequate. Maybe a copy of it would be availed to him. Who is responding to the request for statement by Honorable Joseph Lekuton? Yes, give the Chair Transport Committee represented by Honorable TJ Kajwang.
Mr. Speaker, this is a request for response to a statement regarding the erosion of Sirima Loyangalani Road. Honorable Speaker, on Tuesday, 26 September 2024, the member for Laisamis on Joseph Lekuton, MP, requested for statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure regarding the erosion of Sirima Loyangalani Road. Mr. Speaker, in the statement, the honorable member sought to establish, amongst other things, a detailed report on the urgent measures being taken to ensure the road is rehabilitated, and urgent measures being put in place. All affected residents receive food and basic amenities, and steps taken to ensure that the water from Lake Turkana is reusable for agriculture in the surrounding semi-arid areas. Mr. Speaker, committee received a response from the ministry through the clerk, which I wish now to put before the plenary. Honorable Speaker, regarding the urgent measures being taken for the rehabilitation of the road, in order to reinstate the traffic flow, sections of the road totaling to 3.1 kilometers will be leveled by cutting in hard material under the Upper Eastern Region Framework Contract for handling emergencies. Another 2.4 kilometers between 52 and 54 will be graded under the ongoing routine maintenance contract in order to ensure the connectivity between Larima and Longayalani towns. As to the part of the long-term solution, the Kenya National Highways Authority is conducting a survey to identify and establish the alternative route between Sarima and Loyangalani town. Honorable Speaker, regarding the urgent measures being put in place to ensure that all affected residents receive food and basic amenities, the ministry, through the rural agency, is only able to assist in ensuring that the infrastructure is motorable and accessible for the teams and for the teams which donate food and other basic amenities. And lastly, in regards to the steps being undertaken to ensure the water from Lake Turkana is reusable for agriculture and surrounding semi-arid areas, it is important that we state that currently the ministry does not have corporate social responsibility program that is aligned in dealing with the issue of managing water for agricultural use around Lake Turkana. Mr. Speaker, so I submit.
Honorable Joseph Lekuton, are you satisfied?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable TJ Kajwang, you are the one responding to the request by Honorable David Kiplagat.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you. I am ready to respond to requests regarding the expansion of Laseru Kitale Kotum Highway. Mr. Speaker, the distinguished member, Honorable David Kiplagat, requested for a statement on 26th of September regarding the expansion of Laseru Kitale Kotum Highway. Mr. Speaker, the statement, the member required information on, number one, measures being taken to address the safety concerns of the residents regarding the dilapidated and narrow state of the highway, the relief measures that the government is putting in place to compensate the families of residents who lost their livelihoods through accidents and result of the narrow state of the road, and lastly, the long-term plans being implemented to rehabilitate and expand the said critical road, including current plans, if any, to secure the external funding for development on the named road. Mr. Speaker, the ministry wishes to respond as follows, that through Kenya National Highways Authority is currently undertaking project preparation for the rehabilitation which seeks to address the heightened concerns. In the meantime, the agency continues to carry out maintenance and road sections to ensure that the conditions of safety concerns are addressed for continuous flow of goods and services and traffic. Mr. Speaker, regarding the relief measures the government is putting in place to compensate families, the Kenya National Highways has carried out a detailed design of the road. It will be prudent to note that the procurement of works and rehabilitation of the road with financing support of KfW, German Development Bank, is on the advanced stage. Clearance by KF Development Bank for the contract to commence is being awaited. Number three, additionally, regarding the compensation of the victims of roads accidents, the ministry does not have any information of the accidents that have been caused by narrow state of the roads, but will undertake to follow up this matter. So, Mr. Speaker, the last one concerning the long-term plans being implemented to rehabilitate and expand the roads, we submit that the government is working on secure financing for the road sections between Leseru, Kitale, Mopas, and Otum. Mr. Speaker, we wish to submit. Thank you.
Honorable David Kiplagat.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would like to thank Honorable Kachwang. I can see broad-based government is now working. That a statement is being given by Honorable Kachwang, but that is, that is in order. From the statement, I think it misses basic answers as to why we were asking the question. It is important to note that the Leseru-Kitale-Kortum Highway is the narrowest of roads, north of Limpopo, south of Sahara. And I wish the committee could find time and visit the road so that they can understand what kind of road we are talking about. And we are not just talking about a highway. This opens up to the corridor that links us to Southern Sudan. So it is a very important artery that links this country to Southern Sudan and Egypt. And if you look at the road, it has caused quite a number of accidents. And in fact, before I brought the statement, my bodyguard had just lost lost a relative through an accident that occurred between the riverbed and Soy Center. And if you can see that road, it is steep in the hill, and then it is very narrow. Hence, in the process of vehicles exchanging or overtaking each other, it results in accidents occurring. So it is very important that I will get the list, Mr. Speaker, sir. I will get the list of all the victims that have lost their lives through that road that is in pathetic condition, so that you can now be able to answer as to what will happen to the victims. I think the list you will be able to get. It is also very important that we note there has been ongoing financing from African Development Bank and the German Bank, but the wheels of making it speedy has been lacking. So it is very important that you also tell us when is the expansion of the road starting. And I wish I can see Honorable Bissau, the ME for Kiminini. We are sharing the road, but he's engaged in other things. I don't know. I think he should be listening so that he can be able to actually talk about the road, but I can see him, he's just... Mheshimiwa Bissau, you should be on this thing because it affects you and it affects me. So it's very important that we get from the chairman of the committee for roads, when is the expansion starting? Because that is fundamental, because every year we have been told that it is going to start and every year it is not starting and we are losing lives. Thank you.
Honorable Joanna Ngeno.
Speaker, thank you. Previously also I would have wished to understand from the Committee on Roads if the road that branches from the highway Nairobi Nakuru to Maimayu, if they have ever thought of visiting that road, look at the traffic that normally hauls up in that road, making even the people who are using that road to spend even more than 2-3 days when a lorry or a trailer blocks the road. Mr. Speaker, I would wish the committee to visit that road, think of expanding it, make it dual carriage. And it is only a short distance. It is only between the highway and Maimayu, and we are done. So, Mr. Speaker, I would wish the committee to look into that Maimayu road so that they can do a dual carriage. We have 3 lanes here, 3 lanes on the other side, so that if there is a lorry that has caused accident anywhere, the other passengers, the other vehicles will still move. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Kajwang, you can now respond to the Honorable Kiplagat.
Mr. Speaker.
And you may say something about what the chair for the Committee on Housing is asking, if you have information.
Mr. Speaker, I empathize and I feel the member the distinguished member, Honorable David Kiplagat, it would seem that the question did not arrest the heart of the issues that this member needed to be explained. And I think as a ranking member, I probably would advise my distinguished junior that when you compose questions to the minister, it is necessary to compose questions which are specific, because it is known that the cabinet secretaries will use every small diversion to run away from the issues that are before the House. So you can see that the member here was talking about measures being undertaken to address safety concerns of his constituents, the residents. He's talking about relief food being given to members of his constituents, and plans for implementation to rehabilitate the roads. Mr. Speaker, it would be nice, if my learned junior
The Honorable Kiplagat
benefit from.
I would have requested you to listen so that Honorable Kajwang, you know, Honorable Kajwang also avoid moving like a river, meandering over issues. There is no member who is junior here. All members are elected. But Honorable Kiplagat, what is it? What is out of order?
Yeah, point of order, Honorable Speaker. You know, Honorable Kajwang, I don't know which statement he's reading unless he has a statement from Asal. I was specifically talking of a road. And what is the relationship between a road and relief food? And to insinuate that Soy constituency, a constituency that feeds the entire country, can be asking for relief food, I think is completely out of order and he should apologize.
Honorable Kajwang, you know Soy constituency. I was also in Soy just a short while ago. This is the breadbasket of the country. I think withdraw that, apologize, and continue with the response. Honorable Kajwang, you want to be informed by Honorable Wanjala? No, he's no longer on his feet. You cannot stop him. No, Honorable Kajwang does not want information. Honorable Wanjala, sit down, take your seat. Honorable Kajwang,
Mr. Speaker, may I get information from this?
Thank you, Honorable Kajwang. Mr. Speaker, I want to inform the Honorable Member that in broad daylight, glaring media all over the country in December, all people in Soy assembled at President's home. They were being given a loaf of bread, a kilo of sugar and milk. If they were the basket of this bond, this country, why were they assembling there, getting relief food?
Honorable Wanjala, no order. Honorable Wanjala, who are you informing? Honorable Kajwang, you can now proceed.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. With that information, I undertake.
The Deputy Majority Leader, what is out of order in what Honorable Kajwang is doing?
You know, relevance and using disparaging language in Parliament should not be entertained. Honorable Speaker, the people of Soy, the ones that I know, can never queue for a loaf of bread. Yes. Because the people of Soy are decent, hardworking, wealthy people. So even for Christmas, they slaughter bulls and they eat well. So I'm sure the Honorable Wanjala is talking about soybeans or soya or something else, but not the honorable people of Soy. And I think the things that Honorable Wanjala takes sometimes make him say things like that. We need to gag Honorable Wanjala. He needs to apologize and withdraw that disparaging remark about the people of Soy. Honorable Wanjala, please.
Honorable Wanjala, Is Honorable Wanjala attending to what is happening in the House? It is demanded that before Honorable Kajwang concludes the business he was engaged in, you withdraw that statement you've made and apologize.
Mr. Speaker, why should I apologize? The obvious. And we saw, all Kenyans saw it. They were lining up, getting food.
Honorable
December.
Honorable Wanjala. Honorable Wanjala, order. Honorable Wanjala. Honorable Wanjala. Honorable Wanjala. You are saying the whole of Kenya knows I didn't see it myself. So do you want to apologize?
Mr. Speaker, if you didn't see it, we saw it on your behalf because it was on public TVs.
Yes, Honorable Chepkonga. Honorable Wanjala,
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Wanjala, remember the provisions on relevance.
Mr. Speaker.
You may be required to substantiate and there will be consequences.
Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 91.
Yes.
On accurate facts and information. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Wanjala is my very good friend. But it's very unfortunate that he does not understand the geography of this country. So is not in Sugoi. Soi is a different constituency. If you had even taken the liberty to ask me where Sugoi is, I would have told him. But it is not upon me to tell him where this part that he claims. And more importantly, Mr. Speaker, when people are celebrating Christmas, they are not going there because they are poor people. They are celebrating the birth of Christ. Unless the Honorable Wanjala, with his first name, Raphael Wanjala, and I know him as a very good Christian, Mr. Speaker, it would be in good order if he withdraws and not impute improper motives on the Son of God, Jesus Christ. That people who are going to celebrate the birth of Christ are actually poor people. No, we are all very poor in terms of the spirit, Mr. Speaker. And that is the reason why we seek the kingdom of God. Matthew chapter 6, verse 33 says, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all other things shall be granted unto you. Mr. Speaker, this is one of the things that Honorable Wanjala needs to seek. He needs to seek the truth of God first. And all other things, including the one he is seeking for his constituency, if he tells me, Mr. Speaker, I will go to his constituency with, you know, generally I am generous, because the Bible says, give and it shall be given unto you. It is more blessed to give than to receive. And Mr. Speaker, I am willing to go to Honorable Wanjala's constituency with a whole lorry to celebrate Christmas with him. But on this one, Mr. Speaker, he must withdraw.
Yes, certainly. the Honorable Janet Sitiene. Honorable Wanjala, just sit down for a minute.
Honorable
and
Speaker,
listen to the
thank you.
concerns of your colleagues.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. I just wanted to say exactly what Honorable Chepkonga has said. I wanted to ask Honorable Wanjala to apologize. That is a celebration, a Christmas celebration, and it's not because people have no food. They have come to celebrate. Wherever you saw them, they had been invited to celebrate the way you celebrate in Budalangi along the lake. That is where you invite people on 26th when they are doing, I don't know what you call it, Boxing Day. You normally have a celebration there. So it is the same way those people are invited to celebrate Christmas. And for your information, Honorable Wanjala, many of those people, 3/4 are from Western. They come to celebrate with us.
The Honorable DK Kiplagat.
Speaker, point of order, Speaker. I think it is important, Speaker, it is important.
Order.
Point of order. Point of order. I think I need to be heard in silence. It is completely out of order for Honorable Raphael Wanjala, the man who comes from Budalangi, where there are so many floods, that is used to people after being displaced, being given food, for him to insinuate that during Christmas, when the president is meeting his people, that those people have gone to beg. I think it is completely out of order. He should apologize or allow us, the people of Uasin Gishu, the members of Uasin Gishu that are here, to frog march one Raphael Wanjala to go outside.
Honorable Kiplagat, you will withdraw that last statement, then we get the response of... Two wrongs do not make a right. You have no power as a member to frog march a colleague. Can you withdraw that from the, or we expunge it?
You know I'm also Speaker Emeritus. You know I'm also Speaker Emeritus. Allow me to withdraw after he has withdrawn.
No. Just withdraw the last sentence, or I'll order it expunged from the records.
Okay, I withdraw from March, but I also want him to withdraw that statement.
Yes, so you may sit down. Honorable Wanjala, just a minute, Honorable Wambok. Honorable Bissau, just a minute. Honorable Wanjala, no, just get this. We've had a bit of deliberations on the matter. I want us to go back to the business we were transacting. So make it easy for the House to transact business. Just withdraw that statement so that we can mainstream back to Honorable Kajwang. Honorable Wamboka, you want to... I will hear you, Honorable Wamboka, after Honorable Wanjala withdraws.
Mr. Speaker, I want first of all to agree with the honorable member that Budalangi is a place that is flooded, and even when people are getting that food in Sugoi, we expected the president, who is the president of the whole country, to bring that food to people of Budalangi who are staying in camps, instead of giving to people who have more than enough, as he claims. If they had enough, why were they lining up
Honorable
getting
Wanjala,
that food?
Honorable Wanjala. No, Honorable Wanjala, I'm still with you. I don't know whether you're attending. Can you listen to the chair, Honorable Wanjala? Honorable Wanjala, the statement I want you to withdraw was the statement imputing that the people who are wherever you say went there because they are poor. The clarification being made, which I hear you agree with, is that those people were there celebrating Christmas, and so the bread they were being given was not because of lack, but because they were celebrating. You may be right, the president could have extended it elsewhere, but it is wrong to those Kenyans to portray them as people who lacked completely. When you know, as we all know, that the people of Soy, so within Uasin Gishu, which is the breadbasket of the country. So we just withdraw that statement so that we can go back to the business of Parliament. Honorable Wanjala, don't compel the Speaker. Just a minute, members. Honorable Wanjala, did I hear you to withdraw?
On record, Mr. Speaker, exactly what you have directed is
these
what
are
I
our
have
people.
withdrawn.
These are our people. Let us not
but
make wrong
those people who have food should not be lining up at the president's home.
Honorable Wanjala, when you withdraw unequivocally. Please just say you withdraw the statement imputing the people of Soy are poor and that is the reason they were being given bread. Or just say you withdraw so that we transact business.
But Mr. Speaker, I withdraw, and he should also withdraw, the honorable member should withdraw to have said that the lawyers are the one who are lining there.
Honorable Wanjala, do I hear you to withdraw the statement you made?
Speaker.
Thank you. So, Honorable Kajwang. Honorable Wamboka, you want to run the house when I'm seated here? I've decided otherwise. Yeah. Honorable Wanjala, Wamboka, let me hear you now.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I have 2 points to make. In the same breath, you may order Honorable Sitenei to also withdraw because she was imputing an improper motive on the whole community of the Luhya community where I come from, Honorable Speaker. It is not rocket science that Luhyas have food, that no Luhya begs. It is not rocket science. So whereas you've asked Honorable Wanjala to withdraw, Honorable Sitenei must withdraw on behalf to the entire community and apologize to the entire community of Western. That's my point number one, Honorable Speaker. Point number two. Indeed, Honorable Speaker, the President is the President of the Republic of Kenya. In what Wanjala is saying, Honorable Wanjala, my big brother, if the President wants to call people, no, but this is me. If the President wants to call people, let it be national. Because he is a national president.
Honorable
Wamboka. Back to Honorable Member for Tarbu that she must apologize to the entire Luhya nation.
Honorable Wamboka. No, just a minute. We are already done. Honorable Wamboka, what I heard Honorable Janet Sitenei say is that those Christmas gifts were given to everybody, not because they were poor, and that those everybody included people from Western Kenya, and I find no fault with that. Unless I didn't hear right. And I've not requested you to speak. So there was nothing out of order in what Honorable Janet Sitenei mentioned. Honorable Kajwang, can you take us back to business? Please respond to the last statement.
Mr. Speaker, I was interrupted when Honorable Member for Budalangi.
Deputy Majority Leader insists on disrupting you again, Honorable Kajwang. Yes.
You know, we abide the standing orders. The standing orders of this House is very clear. You cannot discuss the name of the President in this House without a substantive motion. And that is what the standing orders say. So when I hear Honorable Wamboka, I hear Honorable Wanjala mention the name of the President and want to discuss him in whatever light in this House, it needs to be done with a substantive motion, which they have not done. So, Honorable Speaker, I think it is the onus is on you, Honorable Speaker, to guide the House that they avoid that kind of a discussion.
The Honorable Owen Baya, the Speaker here is very keen. And I can tell you in this broad-based government arrangement, the Speaker seated here will not allow the name of the President to be discussed without a substantive motion. The request Honorable Wamboka and Honorable Wanjala made, if I heard them rightly, was that while giving Christmas gifts anywhere, the President should spread nationally. That is a request, and I don't find anything wrong with that. Except Honorable Wamboka and Honorable Wanjala, I know we also celebrate Christmas with people who are around us wherever we celebrate it. To expect the President as an individual to be everywhere at the same time may also be difficult. But I think we move astride. Honorable Kajwang, we can proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I was interrupted gladly when the Honorable Member for Budalangi sought to inform me, and I can confirm, I know the member for Budalangi, he drinks nothing other than milk and honey. And I accept the information that the member is giving us. Mr. Speaker, back to the business. I concede that the content of this response remember, this is not the response of the chair of the relevant
Honorable Kajwang, because time is so gone, if you agree there is inadequacy in the response, in terms of addressing the other issues mentioned by Honorable Kiplagat, why don't you just intervene in the manner we normally intervene so that we can transact the remaining business?
Point noted, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was just going to say that I retract these responses, Mr. Chair, Mr. Speaker. I retract these responses back to the committee so that we investigate and interrogate more on these issues, especially on the elucidation by the member that he was going beyond the issues of relief preparedness to the questions on the state of that road. And Mr. Speaker, I would wish to welcome the member. We will invite him properly before the committee. And probably we will also invite the agencies, and we may go there so that we really do justice to these responses. But Mr. Speaker, just allow me to say something about Maimayu Road, spoken of by the member, Honorable Ngeno. Mr. Speaker, I'm a consummate user of that road. Every time I visit my relatives back in the village. And I think that he has a point that needs to be investigated by this House. But I think that he should compose a question or a statement under Standing Order 42C to give us the leverage and the entry point by which we can call these agencies. I don't understand how that road is that narrow. I don't suppose that there are no engineers that can design a big road, even on those upsetters, to carry several lanes, and that traffic between Maimayu and the city should be opened for people who are traveling either to Nakuru or to Narok. Mr. Speaker, I want to invite Honorable Ngeno or any other member who is disposed to bring a statement under 42C so that we can be able to investigate these issues. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Kajwang. You've become the chair who has spoken for the longest time, responding to statements in the afternoon. On behalf of your substantive chair, the Honorable Macharia. The Honorable DK, I hope you are now satisfied. Honorable Kajwang has promised that you'll be invited to the committee so that you explore those.
Yeah, I think now I'm happy now Honorable Kajwang insists of the magnitude of the matter, and I take it up so that at least we can ventilate further so that we can benefit from expansion of that road. But I hope that I wanted to hear from, with your indulgence, Speaker, you indulge Honorable Bissau, because we are both the victims. And if he doesn't say something, his constituents might be on his neck.
Honorable Kiplagat, you don't preside over the House. Really. Yes. Before we continue, let me recognize the following schools in the public gallery. First is Goldfields School from Suna East in Migori County. As the constituency of the minority leader of the House, the Honorable Junet Mohamed. And then also in the public gallery is Migosi SDA School from Kisumu Central, Kisumu County. The students and their teachers from those two schools are welcome to the National Assembly to observe the proceedings of the House. The Honorable Kimani Kuria.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker.
What is out of order, the Honorable Bissau?
Chair, what is out of order?
Honorable Kuria, just sit back.
Chair, what is out of order? I've been trying to really catch your eye, but it's not been possible. This particular road that Honorable DK is talking about, from Soi, St. Gishu, it crosses into Trans Nzoia, and the first constituency is Kiminini. We've had a lot of accidents because of this poor state and the narrow road. I'm also informed on the pending funding through the African Development Bank that has been pending in Treasury for close to a year. So when I try to raise my hand, it's because I also want to show the pains we've gone through as the constituency. And I also realize, Mr. Speaker, the type of answers we've been given by the committee are unsatisfactory. It will be very important on such issues of such magnitude, when we are asking them, especially where we've lost life, we've lost commercial opportunities, we get proper answers. So even the issue of saying that we'll call the committee, we call the agencies, this is an issue that we need to debate in this chamber. So I would request through you, Chair, that Honorable Kajwang, through his transport committee, they give us satisfactory answers and they move fast, because that file is about to be closed and we might lose that funding. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Bissau. And I'm sorry I didn't recognize that is why you are seeking to catch the eye of the Speaker. I thought you wanted to address the matter of our Western Kenya people on the matter Honorable Raphael Wanjala was dealing with. Take note, Honorable TJ Kajwang, when you invite Honorable Kiplagat, also invite the Honorable Bissau, and of course any member who is affected by that road which goes through to also attend. What is the matter, Honorable Member?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just allow me to write on this. It may not relate direct, but we are aware that under Kenya Power, there is a funding on electrification, of rural electrification, under AFDB3. And it stands out that the condition that is required for National Treasury to sign on the financing.
Can you raise that, because it is a separate matter?
But because of time, the risk is that the information that we are getting is that the time period lapses on Friday, and National Treasury has done nothing. It means we stand to lose out on this particular funding. And the
electrification matter. Yeah, so can you just sit down, take your seat. I will give you a minute or two to raise it after we've done with the Honorable Kimani Kuria had gotten you up, but I want to request you to sit for a minute so that we close this part of parliamentary business. The Honorable Sarah Korere, why are you on a point of order?
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 44.2c, I wish to follow up on a statement that I sought on 26 September.
I'm told your mic appears not to be working.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can now address the House.
Thank you, Speaker. Pursuant to provision of Standing Order 44.2c, I wish to follow up on a statement that I sought on 26 September 2024 from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock Development regarding the leasing of Agricultural Development Corporation land to a private investor. Honorable Speaker, you will recall that the said statement was seeking details of the private investor that the Agricultural Development Corporation, ADC, leased 15,000 acres of land to in Rumuruti, Laikipia County. A report on the procedure followed by ADC in leasing of the said property, including a report on public participation conducted, if any, and the steps to be taken to reverse the lease if determined to have been prearranged. Honorable Speaker, I therefore seek your indulgence to ask the chairperson to explain why the committee has inordinately delayed the response to this statement that seeks the details of the private investor that the Agricultural Development Corporation, ADC, leased 15,000 acres of land to in Rumuruti, Laikipia County. Considering that the response period of 21 calendar days stipulated in the Standing Order 44.2c has lapsed. And Honorable Speaker, in regard to this, I also want to confess that as I was seated here, I was called by a clerk who purports to be a clerk of the Agriculture Committee. And Speaker, a lot of members will confess that sometimes we make statements which take forever to be responded to. And Speaker, as I was seated here, they even sent me a copy of the purported response which they claim they will bring tomorrow. But I also want to say, if that is the kind of response they are bringing, I want to warn them in advance that what I've seen is hot air. I don't know whether that is parliamentary, but Speaker, the rush after knowing that I'm protesting the delay of that response to that statement is also leaving, it's questionable. That as I was seated here, they were sending me now, response through WhatsApp of the same statement which they claim they will bring tomorrow. Is it because I have just protested? And Speaker, I also want to give them a warning that what I've seen, if that is what they are going to bring to the floor of this House tomorrow, they'd rather rethink their stand.
Honorable Sarah, your request for statement was addressed to which committee? Is the Chair Agriculture Committee in the House? The Vice Chair? Both of them are not there. The committee chairs are encouraged and reminded to be always in the House, particularly when statements are being made. Tomorrow, rise on the matter, whether or not there will be a response, so that it can be addressed at similar time when similar matters will be addressed. Okay? The Honorable Kimani Kuria.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to raise understanding 87.5 concerning a matter about the roles and the structure of the Senate and the National Assembly. And I just read verbatim, Honorable Speaker, starting on number 87.5 reads, it shall be out of order for a member to criticize or call for a question the proceeding of the Senate or the Speaker's ruling in the Senate, but any debate may be allowed on the structures and roles of the Senate and
Honorable Kajwang.
Honorable Speaker.
You know, as a former Assistant Speaker and a member of the Rules Committee, we may require a bit of your wisdom on the matter Kimani Kuria is dealing with.
So, thank you, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, Article 96 of our Constitution provides for the role of the Senate to be as follows. 1, that the Senate represents the counties and serves to protect the interests of the counties and their governments. The Senate participates in the lawmaking function of Parliament by considering, debating, and approving bills concerning counties as provided for in Article 109 to 113. That 3, the Senate determines the allocation of national revenue among counties as provided in Article 217 and exercises oversight over national revenue allocated to the county governments. And 4, the Senate participates in the oversight of state officers. Honorable Speaker, there's so much loud consultations around me, I can barely pick my thoughts.
The chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, you could discuss in lower tone with the leadership on your side.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I was reading the provision of Article 96. So 3, the Senate determines the allocation of national revenue among counties as provided for by Article 217 and exercises oversight of a national revenue allocated to the county governments. And 4, that the Senate participates in the oversight of state officers by considering and determining any resolution to remove the President or Deputy President from office in accordance with Article 145. On the canvas, Honorable Speaker, Article 96 of our Constitution mandates the National Assembly to do the following. 1, to represent the people of the constituencies and special interests in the National Assembly, deliberate on and resolve issues of concern to the people, enact legislation in accordance with Part 4 of this chapter, determine allocation in national revenue between the levels of government as provided for in Part 4 of Chapter 12, and 5, appropriate funds for expenditure by the national government and other national state organs, and lastly, exercise oversight over national revenue and its expenditures. So, Honorable Speaker, when you read clearly the provisions of Article 96 of our Constitution, it clearly demarcates the different roles of Senate and that of the National Assembly. However, Honorable Speaker, the past 2 years, as chairs of departmental committees, and speaking with authority as a chair of the Departmental Committee of Finance and National Planning, we are finding it difficult to carry out our oversight role with our MDAs and sagas around our ministry, Honorable Speaker. Because the committees of Senate are inviting and summoning and to an extent of fining officers and very senior officers in the executive on matters that are not necessarily the mandate of Senate, Honorable Speaker. The Senate should be busy oversighting funds, making sure that our devolution works. But you've seen someone, Honorable Speaker, going to, like even this morning, we had one of our very key national agencies. We found all the senior officers sitting in a corridor at Bunge Towers for more than 2 hours, waiting to be ushered into an ICT committee of the Senate. Honorable Speaker, the matter that the ICT committee was inviting those officers on has nothing to do with the role of the Senate, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, we have seen continuously members of the executive, principal secretaries and cabinet secretaries spend so much time on these committees that they hardly have any time to carry out their roles as implementing agencies in their ministries or attend to invitations done by the departmental committees of the National Assembly, who is the oversighter of this particular agency, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, I'll be inviting your guidance, Honorable Speaker, and communication from the Chair, Honorable Speaker, on to what extent should these committees of Senate invite officers from the national government, Honorable Speaker, and how often and what matters. And if, for example, they need the technical experience or expertise of some of these officers, then they should allow technical officers in these particular ministries and state agencies to attend those meetings. But having now to require the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury or the Principal National for National Treasury to attend a whole day meeting on a matter that relates to an advisory on integration of county revenue system with IFMIS, for example. That is a matter that can be competently answered by someone in the position of a director in the ministry. But now when you require the principal secretary, the cabinet secretary, the commissioner general of KRA, and all the officers, the governor of central bank, and all these officers in this particular meeting, it is not prudent use of time for these officers. It is a breach of the mandate of the Constitution, especially Article 96 on the roles of the two different houses, Honorable Speaker, and therefore I'm seeking your ruling and your communication on this particular matter because it's really affecting the functioning of especially the departmental committees of the National Assembly. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
I'll allow some comments on this particular one before the Speaker makes communication. The Honorable Gitonga Murugara, you want to speak to this?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the request made is actually timely because this House has been faced with problems, especially regarding its oversight roles. The problem we have is
the chair of Budget and Appropriations Committee. You are working with members and they are very happy behind you. And they're not even following one side of the aisle. Could you leave the House in silence?
The good thing about the chairman of the Budget and Appropriations is a very amiable man. So I'm sure the ladies have just found it good to work out with him. But that notwithstanding, we are saying it is vitally important that Senate actually appreciates its constitutional role. Because oversight of the national government is given to the National Assembly. And it becomes extremely difficult when the National Assembly has to exercise the oversight role for the Senate to perform the same role by inviting the same members of the government, as a result of which
Honorable Millie. Yes, the minority whip.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm just wondering whether the honorable member is in order to make the comments is made about the chair for Budget Committee.
especially at a time when we have just seen a case from Equatorial Guinea of a man who is supposed to have gone around with 400 women. Is he encouraging such bad behavior in this country? We cannot allow such bad behavior because it is discriminatory against women. Unless it is shown that women can also do exactly the same thing. If we cannot, he is completely out of order. He cannot say such things or do such things.
Minority Whip, I heard Honorable Murugara to say that the chair of Budget and Appropriations Committee is a very amiable man, and so anybody around him would be expected to be happy. The way the lady members were, by coincidence, the chair of Budget and Appropriations Committee was only in the company of lady members of parliament at the time. But it was not targeted at women. It was that he's an amiable person and anybody around him would naturally be happy. Honorable Murugara.
Absolutely, thank you so much. Thank you for protecting me. I do not.
Is this 400 Honorable Naisula is talking about? What did you talk about, 400? Honorable Murugara, let's proceed.
Yes. Yeah. The trouble is, Honorable Wamboka is also seated next to the honorable members, including the minority whip and the gracious lady from Samburu. And therefore, you can see how excited he is. And the next one is John Makali. And these are all gentlemen from Western Kenya, and they are well known for this. And that leads me to say, I do not want to attribute them to what was from Equatorial Guinea. It was quite hilarious to read what that cabinet secretary was doing there. But the only thing that is in common is the happiness. As the ladies left...
Did you say hilarious or despicable?
No.
What the guy in Equatorial Guinea was doing?
It was hilarious. Because I don't know whether it is true or not true. I actually took it with a pinch of salt. I don't think it is true, but there we are.
Wamboka, we will not disrupt main parliamentary business for points of order. Yeah, so you'll allow Honorable Murugara to continue.
So let's continue with the problems we have with the Senate. Which problem is that this House must be allowed to do its oversight role on the executive. And the executive here, we mean the national government. There is no way committees can summon senior members of the executive for purposes of ensuring that the government is running properly, only to be told that the same members are being summoned by the Senate. We need a clarification as regards the constitutional roles of the Senate and of the National Assembly. The Senate must always know that its role is limited to matters relating to county governments. And there is a lot to do regarding county governments. So they cannot be hard to say there is so little to do where the counties are concerned, and therefore we have to delve or poke our noses into what the national government does. Sometimes they try to say that the roles are cross-cutting, and this we now need clarified. There is no role that is cross-cutting between the national government and the county governments, so that the Senate can now find itself delving into matters of the national government. I think the request is timely. Kindly make a ruling so that we all know that we need to meet the executive when time comes without any deviation from the Senate. Thank you very much.
Honourable members, this is a very serious matter. I wish we would give it the attention we are now giving it. That's why I requested Honourable Kajwang to sit back. Because you see, principal secretaries, cabinet secretaries are permanently in the Senate addressing not matters of county, but matters of the national government. So much so that you are searching for cabinet secretaries or principal secretaries to address the matters of the national government. You barely find them. This is the stem of the matter. The Honorable Owen Bayer. I've noticed you, Honorable Kirima.
Honorable Speaker, this is a very serious matter. And it is a matter that needs to be canvassed in such a way that we get a solution at the end of the day. Honorable Speaker, this Constitution is supreme. And the supremacy of this constitution must be respected not only by any other organ, but even the judiciary. Because a lot of these things that the Senate are doing is because of court orders and rulings that have been made by judges who have overreached the constitution, such that they want to give powers that are vested particularly to the National Assembly, to the Senate. And that is why the Senate always runs to court to get an interpretation and rulings and judgments that gives them authority. Honorable Speaker, the framers of this constitution did not even put a majority leader in the Senate. They did not do that. The framers of the constitution, if you look at the constitution and the way the Senate is formed, there are certain things that they do not have, certain committees that they do not have. But they have gone back, used the court system to create powers for themselves that are not envisaged in the constitution. And that's why we are in where we are today, such that they have used litigation in courts to say today that Senate can summon permanent secretaries who do have nothing to do with devolution. But the framers of the constitution were very clear. The Senate role was about counties and management of counties and to protect counties. That is what the constitution says. But today, we have a lot of issues in the counties, but the Senate do not look at that. They want to look at work for which was cut for the National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, it is very sad. I met an MDA officer today, one of the MDA officers, and he said, I've spent a whole day in the Senate asking me questions which I have already answered in the National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, if you remember the Ruaraka land case, that is where Parliament acted out of character, because this National Assembly had that case, looked at it, studied it, and passed a resolution in this House that the people were culpable. The former minister and all the people were culpable, which was actually the role of this House to do that. But then a senator moved the same thing and requested for a table something in the Senate on the same thing. I was in the Lands Committee then. We deliberated on that matter and we passed certain resolutions which were adopted by this House. Then they have Senate, they take it to Senate, and Senate actually absolves those people. Senate absorbs them. So you have two reports from the same Parliament. But the National Assembly is saying this and the Senate is saying that. Honorable Speaker, that is where I felt like we are letting down Kenya and this constitution which we saw to defend. Honorable Speaker, it is important that the Senate sticks to its mandate. And the day the Senate sticks to its mandate, counties will work, they will work properly, they'll be properly oversighted, and we will not have the hemorrhage of money that we have because Senate is active to its role. But because of imperialism, I don't know whether it's imperialism or modern kind of imperialism, they want every time to gnaw and eat into the roles of the National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, we must stop misusing the court. And I think the President once said that when one house takes to court the other house, I think we are missing it. I think this National Assembly has been taken to court many times by the Senate so that they can get powers and infringe on the roles of the National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, this constitution is very clear on the mandates and Article 97 and Article 98 and all those Article 103, 117, all those articles are very clear on who does what. But I want to ask the speakers, and I think the onus is on the speakers, and especially the Speaker of the Senate, a lawyer that of standing, good standing. He needs to rein in on senators and anything that comes to the floor of the House. He should not approve something that he knows is infringing on the House of Parliament, on the National Assembly. Because it is the Speaker who sits there who will approve that thing. It comes to the Senate floor and it is discussed. I think the Speaker needs to rise above the rivalry, the sibling rivalry of these two houses and stand and say, no, this matter belongs to the... Just like when I bring a matter here that touches on counties, even the clerks will tell me, no, you cannot bring this matter because it belongs to the counties and therefore it has to be discussed in the Senate. I also want to see the Senate also do the same thing. When a matter is taken by a member to a clerk or to the Speaker, he should be able to have the moral authority and the high standing to say, this matter does not concern counties, take it to the National Assembly, Honorable Speaker. And that's the ruling we will require to have so that we are seamlessly aligned and also to give national government officers time to work. You cannot have a cabinet secretary in the Senate throughout for a whole day, tomorrow, the next day. Then now they're even summoning PSs. They're even here, we shy away from summoning PSs. We summon cabinet secretaries. Senate now has gone to start summoning PSs. Tomorrow, they'll be summoning directors. The following day, they'll be summoning county commissioners. Eventually, they'll be summoning everybody, just because they do not have work. I want to say that. Probably they don't have work. Honorable Speaker, this is a matter we must deliberate, converse on, and get a way forward to stop this duplication of roles between National Assembly and Senate. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Beatrice Elachi, there is a time I traveled out of the country and the ambassador was being informed that the Senate committee members of Defense and Foreign Relations were waiting at the airport to be received by him. And I was asking, which is this foreign relations matter between counties in Kenya, for which the Senate would have a committee in charge of defense and foreign relations? May you make your contribution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you know, I always thank God that I have been a senator and I've been a speaker. And I see where the weakness in Senate is. It's just one. Their roles are so limited that they will always want to eat into the roles of the National Assembly. That's the truth of the matter. But having said that, Mr. Speaker, and having been in the first Senate, and I know they went to court, there were some interpretations that were done. I think the key issue, first of all, is the two speakers to have a sitting and to agree that sometimes when this matter is very grave and it touches on both functions of the county and the Senate, then you bring in a joint committee to deal with the matter once and for all. And you remember we agreed here to bring our as ministers, our CSs on the floor of the House. And that is all the Senate needed to have done so that they do not continuously, because even if you call the finance minister, and I will tell them today, because I've been waiting for this, that it is unfair and very wrong, ethically wrong, for a senator to abuse completely and disregard this is a CS of finance and just say, and you can even chase him out. It is very wrong. Yet you know very well the function you have called him, it is not on the revenue, division of revenue bill. It is not on county monies. You have called him on issues you have heard on the newspapers and all over, and now they have to come and substantiate whether it is true or not. It is unfortunate, very wrong. And so for me, one of the things I would wish to tell the Senate today, Mr. Speaker, which today we were with a senator somewhere, and I told them this. We agreed as a country to have a presidential system. I have not seen anywhere in America where the Senate will interfere in any matter of the Congress. None. And I told him it is unfortunate that the Senate can interfere in all matters of the National Assembly, disregarding completely their role. That is why we have a challenge right now with governors. Today, if the Senate was functioning, Mr. Speaker, we would be having a law saying the county secretary should now be recruited from their county services board, so that we know very well you have a substantive county secretary than the way the governors are just removing them every 6 months and acting one comes in. That role they've disregarded, they are on this one. And so, Mr. Speaker, as we speak on this, we need a very clear communication that indeed if the matter you are calling a CS, a PS, has no matter to deal with counties, then the CS has a right to write back a letter and tell them this matter in consensus does not at all affect counties on the matter we are doing. That way, we will have some decorum and stop bashing each other on the media. We go on a sitting, you find we are hitting each other with senators. You wonder. And that is why they are just joking with CDF. Even today, I told the member, you have no business saying CDF is a county function. It is not. And we were about to go into some serious conflict, but I just told him, I want Senate to respect the National Assembly the way we have respected the Senate. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Moses Kirima, then Honorable Tom Kajwang.
Thank you.
Then Honorable David Ochieng.
Thank you,
in that
Mr.
order.
Speaker, sir. Junior or not junior, here we are all members of Parliament, Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity to address this issue. This is an issue which, as really, can I be given a chance? This is a very serious matter. This is a very serious matter which requires a lot of attention to all of us. Mr. Speaker, sir, before I came to this August House, I used to practice constitutional law as a lawyer in the corridors of courts. And I used to study the Constitution as it was and the standing orders of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I used to know at that material time that there is a difference between the laws of Parliament and the laws of the Senate. And I knew very well that the Senate was meant to participate, supervise, oversight, and protect county governments and all issues which are relevant to county matters. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, sir, I knew very well that the National Assembly major mandate was to legislate, oversight the national government, and do anything which pertains to the public as it relates to the matters concerning the executive, where it relates to the public matters. Those are the things which I used to know before I came to this house. When I came here, Mr. Speaker, sir, I realized that from the year 2013, when we came up with bicameral house, the executive, in one way or the other, decided to conjure with Senate to an extent that it allowed or it started cohabiting with the Senate in one way or the other to minus or to subtract the strength of this house, the National Assembly, by allowing it to double form the committees, of which committees are not allowed by the Constitution. Because you come and find that the Senate is summoning the Ministry of Education, the minister, and anybody concerned to university matters or higher learning institutions matters. At the same time, you come and find that the Senate is going ahead to summon the Minister for Foreign Affairs and the Minister for Defense. One will wonder where the county matters are relating to the defense matters of this country. One will wonder where the county matters are coming together with the university matters. The other day, Mr. Speaker, as we were handling Kenyatta University hospital matters, we found that the Senate was doing the same, and it had nothing to do with the Senate. The other day, when we were handling matters to do with defense, the Mbatuku issues, we came and found that the Senate is also handling the same matters. So these two houses, the Senate and the National Assembly, they end up giving contradictory rulings and opinions. And it's the National Assembly and the Senate, respective houses, which should be coming up with answers which are not contradicting, because the public expects to be protected by these two houses. One at the county level, another one at the national level. Mr. Speaker, sir, this is the high time when the three arms of the government should sit down, not in just the two speakers, and iron out the issues and avoid where we have duplication of work for the two houses. Mr. Speaker, if I am not wrong, I'll say that, as it has been said before, the Senate has very little work to do. It shouldn't be meeting only when it is dealing with counter issues. If you interpret the Constitution whereas it is, is that the Senate should not even be sitting on daily basis because there's no work to do. It should be meeting on maybe quarterly basis or 1 year per term. One time per year, so that at least it can come with work from the county government. The Senate has exposed us to the county government. The Senate has failed to play its role to protect the national resources which we allocate to county government, whereby governors have gone all the way.
Honorable Kirima, you have 30 seconds to be done.
I'm bringing that the Senate to do its role to protect the public, the taxpayers' money at the county government, so that at least the money which is being squandered by the governors at least can be protected through the Senate. But now it has abandoned its work and it has descended to interfere with the work of this House. What do we do? Can the three arms of the government meet? That's the executive, the assembly, and then the judiciary, and iron out this matter, because now, as per this House, it's here to protect the Constitution. If you remember just 1 week ago, Mr. Speaker, if you can allow me just 2 seconds or so. If you remember, the last 2 weeks, we were standing here to protect the Constitution as it is, and that's why we carried out the activities which we carried out for the last 1 month, and it didn't bear fruits. Can this one be done exactly like that in this Article 96? We come out clear as per protecting the Constitution, because now we are allowing the Constitution to be abused by the same House, which shouldn't be protecting the same Constitution, Mr. Speaker, sir. I thereby lay my case.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Kirima. The Honorable TJ Kajwang.
Mr. Speaker, I want to be very brief on this matter. I don't want to lament, because we are reducing this House in the book of lamentation. And I think that probably we are answering. I also don't know whether those senators or those people concerned are watching these devices. So perhaps we may be talking to ourselves. But I first of all want to take issue with the deputy leader of majority. In your position, and buttressed by your able lady, your deputy on your right, in those enviable positions, you don't lament. You create leadership. Let some of us from the backbench lament and spew everything that we want, but you take us to where resolutions will be found. Now we are adding you the bad girl. Yes, we are adding you, the bad girl, into your arsenals. You are leaders. You must come back to us with positions of leadership that we can take. First of all, I would have wished that the chair of finance would have raised this issue when the substantive speaker was present. But that notwithstanding, Mr. Speaker, you then now take the role to give us a reasoned response. Because this is a very big issue touching on constitutional law and interrelationship between the houses. I think that we need to involve a more diplomatic approach. You probably want to think and look at a group of persons, and I suppose that they could be ranking members of both houses, to advise the speakers, the two speakers. Because one of the issues that we had in the other parliament was the discord which was apparent between the leadership of the Senate and the leadership. In this leadership, I mean the speakers of the Senate and the Speaker of the National Assembly. It was very difficult, even on a simple issue, such as to see which bill goes to which house, was difficult. And yet the Constitution seems to say very clearly how that can be handled. I think that we need to have a committee of ranking members advising the Speaker of the National Assembly. Also, a committee of ranking members advising the Speaker of the Senate. That Speaker of the Senate was once in this House and knows inside this House, ins and out. So we should come with a common position that we need to help, number one, devolution, but we also want to help this institution, Parliament, to stand on its own. And we need to come with some bilateral rules, bicameral rules, which then can help us in such issues such as the cabinet secretaries or the executive, how they interface with the Senate and how they interface with yeah. Because these cabinet secretaries, when you think about them, who helps them or who process these issues in the Senate? It is the clerk. It is the clerk of the Senate that processes those committee meetings. They are the ones who give them even the rooms. They are the ones who even process those summonses. If we had agreed and if there was a political goodwill, then the clerk would respectfully tell his members that this is not a matter within the purview that can be interrogated by the Senate, or that this is an issue which should be the domain of the Senate and not National Assembly. So when you think about it, it goes beyond membership of the houses. It is also an institutional problem of Parliament, because the clerk of the Senate seems to be antagonistic, or they are ambivalent with the clerk of the National Assembly. You would think that these are two different institutions. But, Mr. Speaker, you know that this is one Parliament, which is in two different houses. So before you reconcile members, first of all, reconcile the institutional arrangement. Because I was in a mediation committee, Mr. Speaker, which has never taken place, trying to find an agreeable text on some Mung bill, one of those things. And you would see that this was a money bill. It is a money bill, which was processed through the Senate. So you would wonder how that money bill landed on the floor of the Senate if it was not processed by the clerks of those houses. It is the clerk of those houses who approved those bills. And they are the ones here, of course I know here, if I were to bring a bill which is not within the purview of the National Assembly, the clerk will turn me down. In fact, not even the clerk, the staff will politely tell me that this cannot be handled here because the Constitution or the law refuses, does not allow it. And so in that mediation committee, I sought to summon, first of all, the clerk of the Senate to be told why it was processed in the Senate. That was the end of that mediation committee. I have never seen that mediation. I have never been asked to it, because it is the clerks who brings us to these committees. So, Mr. Speaker, as I sit down, this leadership, the ones who are on that row and the ones who are on this row, must start that conversation. And we should not lament on this or that. They must now find a way on how to get the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Speaker of the Senate to agree that we have an institutional problem, and the legislative mechanism or the regulatory mechanism, if it could be by way of regulations, I do not know. But we must be having something which would let us know what cabinet secretary answer to where and how these relations are managed, instead of coming to lament, which will be useful for the public, but may not be useful for the integration of the Parliament. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, Honorable Chepkonga, I saw the Senate summon the CS for Treasury. They are very livid in the media. And when the CS goes, the matters being dealt with, the matters for the national government. Please have your comment in 3 minutes. Members, do we end it at Honorable Chepkonga so that the Speaker can give communication?
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, so can you do be as brief as possible?
I will be as succinct as I can, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the Honorable Kuria, my good friend, for bringing up this matter. Mr. Speaker, Article 93 of the Constitution is absolutely very clear. It states in sub-article 2, it says the National Assembly and the Senate shall perform their respective functions in accordance with this Constitution. The drafters of this Constitution were very clear. They knew which house will perform what function, Mr. Speaker. And so those functions were therefore divided in the fourth schedule. And it is provided what the National Assembly will oversight, what the Senate will oversight. It leaves no confusion, neither contradiction, neither challenges to any of the houses. The law is very clear. Mr. Speaker, you know, if you look at article on the removal, on the role of Parliament, and particularly the Senate, with regard to Article 96(4), it says the Senate participates in the oversight of state officers. And then it restricts those state officers who they participate in oversighting. And it talks about the president and the deputy president. Mr. Speaker, the question that we would like to ask, when they invite state officers who are approved by this House, and they are never approved by the Senate, Mr. Speaker, how do they intend to oversight those state officers? We need a ruling, Mr. Speaker, that state officers should uphold the Constitution as required by Article 3 of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. And for avoidance of doubt, I'd like to read it for those who may not be conversant. And it states very clearly that this Constitution is the supreme law of the Republic and binds all persons and all state organs at both levels of government. It says no person may lay claim or exercise state authority except as authorized under this Constitution. Mr. Speaker, if the Senate purports to exercise some state authority, which is not delineated to it, they are in breach of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. And then it says, it goes further to state, Mr. Speaker, that every state officer is obligated to protect and uphold this Constitution, which includes the Senate, includes the National Assembly. The reason why, Mr. Speaker, we don't invite the governors to come to this House is because we are very clear in our mind that it is not our role. Mr. Speaker, we know at some point in our function, in our constituencies, we are aware where the governors have infiltrated into the functions of the national government. And I'll give you one example, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you go to the primary schools, you will find that ECDs are located in primary schools. We have never said those ECDs must be removed, Mr. Speaker. Because it is a county function, we have left them there, Mr. Speaker. And we have not caused any confusion. We have not invited them. In fact, most of the time they come and put up buildings wherever they want in plots or parcels of land that we have purchased using CDF, Mr. Speaker. So that is not a county function. But we don't complain. We are not inviting the governors to appear before the Committee of Education that they are interfering with the education of our children in the primary schools or interfering with the management of the primary schools. Mr. Speaker, we are very clear in our minds. So we are inviting you, Mr. Speaker, that state officers, and particularly the cabinet secretaries, the principal secretaries, when a matter is not relevant as provided in the Constitution, they should not appear. Mr. Speaker, you have had, you've even seen one which, unfortunately, Mburugara has just walked out. That was, in fact, very hilarious. If you look at the question of Shakahola, there was a committee which was investigating the criminality which was which obtained in that particular region. Mr. Speaker, DPP is not a devolved function. Neither is it a county function, Mr. Speaker. So why would you waste so much precious money? In fact, you know, it's just that we don't want to say this, Mr. Speaker. it's akin to misuse of public resources, to inquire into a function in which they are alien to. So, Mr. Speaker, we want a ruling that obligates the state officers not to go to the Senate. And if they go, Mr. Speaker, we are obligated in this House to commence proceedings for their removal under our role and mandate given to us under Article 94 of the Constitution to oversight state officers, including removing them, Mr. Speaker. We approve them in this House, and they should not go there just wandering, looking for work to do. The work to do is found in the National Assembly, Mr. Speaker. So we want a very clear ruling to the state officers, Mr. Speaker. It's not to the Senate. It should not be direct to the Senate. It should be direct to the state officers. In the event of conflict between the National Assembly and the Senate with regard to one particular matter, like for instance the question of Adani, that is not the airports, although they are in counties, they are in Kenya. It is a national function. Why would you? And then I saw some senators using big words. We are not lacking. Neither are we bereft of those words, Mr. Speaker. If they appear before us, we will also use big words. If they want us to use big words, we are here, Mr. Speaker. And so I would like to urge you, Mr. Speaker, to give a ruling, a reasoned ruling, and must be directed to the cabinet secretaries that they should not keep wondering when they appeared before this House, when they were being vetted, Mr. Speaker. They swore that they are going to uphold the Constitution, and they must continue to uphold the Constitution. If they are in breach of the Constitution, we will commence sanctions against them. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable David Uchim. Honorable members, not more than 2 minutes. We want to transact substantive business.
Honorable Speaker, I couldn't agree more with the Honorable Senior Chep Konga. But I wanted us to look at a different angle, Mr. Speaker, as you deliver this ruling. That the Senate, in their thirst and their hunger for fame, their hunger for bonga points, their hunger to look good, have been on a smearing campaign against this National Assembly, Mr. Speaker. And this happens almost every single day, and we've kept quiet. Personally, every time this debate has come up in this floor, I've started with the Senate. For the last 10 years, 11 years, I've always started with the Senate because I believe they have a role to play. But where this is going, Mr. Speaker, we are losing the Senate. For me, it's not the National Assembly. We are losing the Senate because the counties lack laws to guide them on health care. The counties lack laws to guide them on agriculture. The counties lack laws to guide them on water. The counties lack laws to guide them on sports, culture, and youth development. The counties lack laws to guide them on trade, commerce of the counties. That is the issue. The issue isn't not even about this wars between us. It's about the Senate shirking its responsibility, so the counties are running on water, not on oil. That's the issue. But because of the Senate misunderstanding, refusing to understand their role, the counties are running amok. It's not just corruption, Mr. Speaker. I don't believe corruption is the issue about the counties. It's about when we went for Majimbo, the reasons why we decided to go counties. In 5, 10, 11 years, Mr. Speaker, we shouldn't be talking about the counties. And I've just, the other day I was appointed to be a member of a Devolution committee. We can't be having counties crying for money every year, yet the Senate has not made a law to ensure that they discipline how those counties collect on source revenue and use them. We must hold the Senate to account on its role regarding what the law says, that they must protect the counties. They aren't doing it. They will, for example, I remember in June, the Senate calls people here to discuss what happened in this National Assembly about the young people who stormed Parliament. Shakahola. Oh, exchange rates going down, going to 140. What is their business with that? People are dying in the counties. The cattle cannot be, we need to have the Senate doing its job. We need the counties to work. People want to grow in this country. The Senate must be told in unequivocal words that the Senate must go back to its work as indicated in Article 96 of the Constitution.
It's not about sibling rivalry. It's about the leadership of Senate taking the job. The only time we see Senate talking about counties is if they're impeaching a governor. The only time we hear Senate talking about something is when there's a governor coming on audit issues, and I dare say, extortion. If there's no money being exchanged, you don't see any seriousness in them. The reason they even go into calling PSs the ministers is not because they want the best for the country. It's not because of something they're going to do for us. It's because they want a chance for rent seeking. It has to stop. And this House has to stop it. So, Speaker, it's us who must put our feet on. Honorable Chemuga said it. If you can't vet, you can't oversight. If you can't vet, you can't hold accountable. They don't vet ministers. They don't vet PSs. What will they do if they don't go back, if they don't go there? What will the Senate do if the minister refuses to go there? What can they do? Even impeaching the president and the deputy, it must start from here. They can't start with their own motto. It is the lower house. Always been. Must be. This must be communicated to them in unequivocal terms. If we don't do this, Mr. Speaker, we'll continue this confusion. And the courts are as guilty as charged in causing this mess and confusion. But every time you have a matter, they run to court, the court says to them, devolution was meant to work. And the body set up, and Mr. Speaker, this was supposed to be a specialized institution to help guide, help nudge, help direct how counties work. This isn't a small matter, Mr. Speaker. And I hope our Speaker will treat this with the weight it deserves. As I finish, Mr. Speaker, I also want to give a rider.
Honorable Ching, how can you say counties are not being oversighted when in addition to their salary, you passed a budget here for something called Senate Oversight Fund, from which each senator is already receiving over 1.5 million each month.
But that's the position, Mr. Speaker, and we've said this before, that the senators are misguided in believing that the CDF belongs to members of parliament. The CDF belongs to Wananchi. No MP is allowed to sign a single thing. No MP receives a single cent from the CDF. God knows that. In fact, this so-called, what did you call it, Mr. Speaker? You called it Senate oversight. It's illegal. Someone must go to court to strike it down. It can't keep going on. It's a wrong thing if you approved it. Because we can't keep bribing senators to do their work. That if you don't give them, oh, they won't pass this. CDF, if CDF goes, Devolution will not die. But someone's kid in the grassroots will not go to school. We should stop equating CDF, and I've said this before. We should stop equating CDF to members' allowances. It is not our allowance. It's not our money. We don't touch it. Mr. Speaker, we must stop pussyfooting on this issue of Senate. It has to be dealt with once and for all. And Mr. Speaker, as I finalize, Mr. Speaker, I want to advise.
Honorable Kajwang, the Speaker heard Honorable Cheng very clearly, and I can tell you that word is very parliamentary.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, as I sit down, Mr. Speaker, I also want to ask ourselves a question as National Assembly. And I do this with deep respect for fellow members. That when Senate is discussing Shakahola, when Senate is discussing what happened here on 25th of June, when Senate goes about discussing the exchanges of the country, where are our chairmen of committees? Where are our committees? What are they doing? Our committee members and our committees are busy chasing PSS for tenders, for deals. Our chairmen of committees must work for this house, bring business. That's why Senate is getting a room. Because we take too long to summon. An issue happens out there today, we are waiting for the Speaker to direct. It's not the Speaker to direct, it is the committee members and the chairs to take those issues, Shomoto, and bring them to this floor. They are sleeping. We must wake them up. Because the Senate can't keep every day the Senate looks good because they pick on matters that are hot of the day and our chairs are waiting for the Speaker to help them what to do. No, it's not the Speaker's job. We all must wake up and do what the National Assembly was set up to do. I support and I hope we get a proper ruling. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm actually glad that one of the members talked about the framers of this constitution. They are still alive, and I'm one of them. And one of the things that we need to do is to go back to the legislative history of that constitution. One of the institutions that's creating a lot of confusion is the Supreme Court. That when a matter has been taken to court for interpretation about the role of the Senate, they've actually interpreted it very broadly to say the Senate can deal with virtually anything. And within that framework, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Chieng has actually removed words from my mouth. As National Assembly, we like lamenting when we actually have the powers. Let us also do exactly what the Senate is doing, expand our powers. Let us call governors here. Let us summon governors here. If it is a free-for-all and we all want to do, we can also ask governors to appear before us. Mr. Speaker, when matters are taken to court relating NGCDF, the argument is that in the Constitution, there are very strict issues that we are supposed to do as a national government and all that. Mr. Speaker, nobody speaks about the fact that counties give bursaries, when in the Constitution, in the schedule, it's very clear that the mandate of counties is ECD in education. So unless they are giving bursary to nursery school kids, that is actually unconstitutional. But because we actually understand that the bursary that they are giving is helpful, we choose to keep quiet. But the way we are being pushed at the National Assembly, we need to take action. But Mr. Speaker, I just want to agree with Honorable Chieng, because this is what I wanted to talk about. I have said it elsewhere in different meetings, and I want to repeat it here. That there are those of us who want to be chairs of committees, but we don't want the work that comes with being the chair of that committee. Why does the Senate go ahead of us? They may have nothing to do, yes, but we can equally ask the same question of our own committees. Where are we? Mr. Speaker, I get perturbed, for instance, when I saw the other day, the Senate is dealing with something that has to do with classrooms, yeah? And they were asking about preparedness of classrooms, which is okay. The CS may respond, but who can allocate money in the budget? It's not the Senate. It is the Budget Committee in the National Assembly. So then what happens then? It becomes a mere PR exercise at the Senate. But here, we can make a decision. And we can say that in the next budget, this and this and this amount to be allocated. Mr. Speaker, what I would want to encourage this Parliament, it is unfortunate that the National Assembly and the Senate have this negative relation. And I would want to encourage some form of diplomacy, as has been suggested by TJ, that we need to improve our working relations, because we will be more effective when we work and focus on our various mandates to the betterment of the country. And one of the ways that we need to do that, because there's already a legislative framework in terms of the relations between the two houses, we need some subsidiary legislation or some rules or some regulations in relation to how we work. I sometimes empathize with CSS. That you see the same CS has been summoned in the Senate, and then the National Assembly that has that mandate again summons the CS. What time do you think the CSS have to do their work? Recently, I was inviting my good brother Mbadi on my book launch, and I wanted to interview him for a documentary. My people went there from morning and sat until midnight. He was still at work, and he never managed to do the documentary, never managed to come. And I understand, because they're extremely busy, and his calendar keeps changing. Now, if you want to add on top of that with our own confusion, and Mr. Speaker, it's unfortunate that because of this negative relation, you find that you pass an excellent bill here, like the last time I passed an excellent bill, assisted reproduction technology bill, even though I know you have issues kidogo with it. Let me remove kidogo, because I can't mix. But after we passed it here overwhelmingly, It went to Senate, and then the Senate sat on it. When I actually asked the Senate, I was told it's because of the poor working relations between Senate and the National Assembly. The women who need to give birth will not wait
Honorable
for...
Millie,
yes.
The minority whip, you give priority to every bill coming from the Senate.
Exactly.
Like you don't have business.
Exactly, Mr. Speaker. We give priority to all the bills that come from Senate and forget our own bills. And that's why I'm saying, let us stop this. Let us move from the book of Lamentation and go to the book of Exodus. Yeah, Exodus is where we will start implementation. So let us move from Lamentation as the National Assembly. And I want to encourage the Chair of Finance. Please go to the House Business Committee, seek also the leadership of Parliament, and there are some things we don't need to engage with before camera. There are suggestions of how we can ensure that every house does their mandate. We don't need to put them before cameras here, but we will ensure that the cabinet secretaries, let the one for the CS for Agriculture go to Senate, let the one for ECDs go to Senate, let the one that has to do with the fisheries go to Senate, in respect of their roles that are covered there. But the ones that have to do with the National Assembly, let us not overstretch those members. Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, I would want to support but ask and plead with the Parliament. Again, you have talked about the issue of the oversight money. Why are we complaining when we are the ones who passed the oversight money for senators? Let us stop lamentation when we have powers under the Constitution. This House has powers. Let's stop lamenting.
No, really, Honorable Millie, you are saying a very important thing. Because people, public officers or state officers are paid salaries so that they can be able to perform their work. The work of a member of Parliament, whether in the National Assembly or in the Senate, is representation, is legislation, is oversight. How does the National Assembly give members of Parliament in the Senate who are already earning salary to do their roles, including oversight, something called Senate Oversight Fund? And what would happen if they now demand legislation fund or representation fund? These are the things really you must be looking at. So I agree with you, we should not lament. But Honorable Watch, you are speaking as the last on this one. And 2 minutes each. But allow Honorable Watch to explain to us whether the civil division of the High Court can sue the criminal division and whether the court would entertain such a suit. And why the courts are entertaining suits between two houses of one parliament and they don't see any problem with it. We were dealing with the CDF matter the other day, honorable members. And Honorable Wenbaya, what we saw shocked us. We are there, we have agreed in this diplomacy we are talking about. And when we are ready to proceed on that very last day we should be submitting, the senator sent a lawyer from our own directorate here to say they are opposed to CDF is unconstitutional. Even the judges are asking, what is the problem with this one parliament? So the National Assembly is heard by Mwendwa, the director of litigation. The Senate has also said, and there are people all sitting at 5th floor down there. You're like, what is happening here? So sometimes you may be lamenting about courts, but what do you expect a court when one house of parliament is saying the law parliament passed is unconstitutional, and the other is saying it is not? You get what I'm talking about? So this is a very serious matter. Very serious. Honorable Watch, address in 2 minutes. Then Honorable Mboni, 2 minutes, and then we are done.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I think the difference between us and the Senate is that while we know very well what the Senate is doing that is unconstitutional, they act on things which they believe they want to claim space expansively on, and we do nothing about. We have a legal committee which has representation from very senior members of our House. You have mentioned here bursaries. You have mentioned here, let me add for you, school feeding program. You have also mentioned oversight. Why haven't we gone to court? I think we need to think about that and act on those things that they do that are unconstitutional. Number two, the court recently spoke on an impeachment matter before it, and they said jurisdiction is something that you either have or you don't have. You cannot do it by craft of interpretation. If I were to extrapolate to the courts, and in this instance the Supreme Court, that very same logic, there is either jurisdiction for the Senate to do things under Article 96 or they don't. You cannot, by craft of interpretation, take or arrogate to yourself the role to say that the Senate can therefore do this because everything is security and everything is this and everything is that. I think there is something that we have to bring the Supreme Court and the courts to account. And Honorable Mili has mentioned this. The Supreme Court was never created in order to overreach or to do something that you call activism. Activism in itself. Lastly, what I want to say here in terms of way forward. The Attorney General exists in order to give advice to the government. I have heard two members saying here, let us start also summoning the governors. Let me tell you, the reason that governors will not appear here before you is simple. They know that the National Assembly has nothing to do with devolution. Why then would members of the executive, knowing very well that these roles have nothing to do with the Senate, accept nevertheless to appear before the Senate? We must call these people here and ask them, through the Attorney General, why haven't you developed a cabinet paper or policy that says, Cabinet Secretary, if you appear on a matter that has nothing to do with you, you will be sacked. I submit.
Thank you.
So, Honorable David Mboni, then Honorable Wilberforce Oundo, lastly.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think this discussion is very important because I think Senate has forgotten its mandate. And one of these mandates is to oversight the Senate, and the functions of the count is to oversight count governments. And the functions of the count governments are well spelled out in the Constitution. Why this statement was sought by my chair of finance is that when we were coming from a meeting, we found Commissioner of KRA, Commissioner General of KRA, with his team, waiting to see Committee of ICT of Senate. And the issue was, what they were supposed to go and ask to answer is how they are going to integrate IFMIS, Integrated Financial Management System, with the Kenya KRA revenue system and count financial system. Mr. Speaker, when you look at that, that's not the work of KRA. In fact, that is a policy issue. And they should have actually summoned National Treasury for that matter. Because the issues to do with finances, even KRA operates under National Treasury. So, Speaker, what we are saying here is that Senate have forgotten their mandate. Senate, what they are doing collectively, or what they are trying to do, and which we actually know about them, is only the impeachment. Nothing else they are doing. The counties have a lot of problems, which need to be oversighted by the Senate. Mr. Speaker, we need a ruling. Senate should stop wasting time for ministers, for head of departments. When you are keeping KRA Commissioner General for 2 hours, and we are crying for finances, they should let this person to go and think strategically how he's going to raise revenue, Mr. Speaker. So, I think you are ruling as a speaker.
So paraphrase it. To literally now take up that mandate and seriously have a sitting with the speaker, now take up that mandate and seriously have a sitting with the Speaker of the Senate and tell him on the face that the drafters of the Constitution, and many of them are alive, intended this and this to be like this. To avoid this kind of confusion and embarrassment, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it's very embarrassing that the Senate takes National Assembly to a court of law. It's very embarrassing that as an advocate from National Assembly is an adversarial situation with an advocate representing Senate. Honestly,
this one Parliament.
Parliamentary Service Commission. It's an absurdity. It's a theater of absurdity. Honorable Speaker, the Speaker's panel, the senior members of the House leadership, Parliamentary Service Commission, must now be required to resolve this matter once and for all. It is. Honorable Speaker, I do not want to agree that senators are idle. I don't want to agree that the senators do not have enough work. Honorable Speaker, the amount of road that's at the county government level is so much work for them to do. I wonder where they even get time to wake up at 5 or 4 in the morning to spend all their day hopping from one television station to another, talking about things that do not even affect the counties. We have no medicine in county hospitals, Honorable Speaker. The health system does not work. Honorable Speaker, there is no agriculture. They don't support agriculture. Honorable Speaker, feeder roads are impassable. Honorable Speaker, ECD, the ECD boys and girls have to petition our own classroom built by CDF. There is so much to be done, Honorable Speaker. The issue of even cess, the issue of duplication in terms of taxation and levies. They have so much to do, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, if you look at the report of the Office of the Auditor General, now the greatest source of corruption, loss of public funds, is no longer at national level, it's at the county level. Honorable Speaker, how do you explain that any given county, 90% goes to paying for salaries and other emolument? Actually, Honorable Speaker, counties now have become employment bureaus. They are not service delivery centers. Yet the senators have the audacity, have abdicating their duty, neglecting their duty to come and encroach on matters that do not have assistance. Honorable Speaker, if they did not read the Constitution and understand that there were lower houses, the best thing they need to do, resign, seek ways to get to the National Assembly so that you can enjoy what National Assembly has been donated to. Finally, Honorable Speaker, it's a call upon now our Speaker, being the chairman of Parliamentary Service Commission, and the two clerks must sit down and resolve this matter before we seek other ways to embarrass each other so that the public can see who is a fool among the two houses. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The MP from Dewa.
Honorable Speaker, much have been said about this. Let's drain the swamp. It is us who are giving these guys a lot of power. We give them money. We passed it here for oversight, for bursary, for whatever they are doing. What I can say, let's stand for our right and defend it. Because the Constitution is very clear. The Constitution did not envisage confusion at Parliament as an institution. But what is happening here, Speaker, which is very, very costly. One, there's an incident where they went to level 6 hospitals. I'm in the Committee of Health. They have nothing to do with level 6 hospitals. And they summoned them, the CEOs, the PS. So the action must start with the chairs. To me, if I'm a chair of a committee and they jump, I will not let them go. In fact, why are we lamenting when the Constitution is very clear? Why? What is happening now is there are duplication of services. they do what we do. It's not that they have no work to do. No. Their behavior is very definite and deliberate. In fact, it is corruption at work. Why should they neglect their turf and come here? It's questionable. So we have duplication, which is very costly, and wastage. We also have confusion, which is deliberately causing. Dignity of the House as a parliament is at the lowest in the eyes of those who we oversight. Remember, we get quarterly reports every 3 months, and then they call them without any report. And lastly, which is very, very serious, Mr. Speaker, when as a House we know our rights, really, why do we step aside and start lamenting? Why can't we stand and defend our right, defend our stuff? And it comes to one thing: drain the swamp. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable members, let us now go to business, isn't it? Is that Honorable Yusuf? Just on account of rank, then let us leave it there. I see we are approaching 6. We've not gone into substantive business at all. You know, this matter we are talking about is a very straightforward issue. Let the chairs of the committees, the relevant departmental committees, tell their CSS not to go to the Senate on any matter touching on devolution. Proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand to support this very important statement, and I really sympathize with the executive, the PSs and the PSs and the CSs, because they are always here in Parliament. They are now forced to do their work in the evenings and late hours, because they are either here responding to a parliamentary committee here or a Senate committee. Unfortunately, through my observation, I have realized that they give priority to the Senate committee. It has happened to me when I called an institution, and at the same time, it was called by the Senate. Then the head of that institution tells me, you know, I'm going to the Senate, I cannot come to you. And when I told him, look at the Constitution, where is the mandate? Whose mandate is this? Is this the National Assembly or the Senate? But you know, the Senate says this, that, and that. It means that the Senate has overpowered us. And this, we have nobody to blame but ourselves. I think we need to take our roles correctly. We need a serious discussion between the two speakers and the two clerks, and everybody should hold their line. Otherwise, there will be collision, there will be overlapping of activities, there will be repetition of activities, there will be wastage, and this cannot be accepted this time of our constitutional dispensation. Thank you so much.
Honorable Yusuf, you allowed your CS, or did you say PS, to ignore you and go to the Senate on a matter of national government? I'm happy he did. If he refused, remove him to remind the CSS and PSS that you are the ones with powers over them, not the Senate. Yeah, honorable members, let us leave the debate at that. Honorable Kawanjiku, let us go to the next order. Next order. Let me communicate before the next order is called that you've raised very serious issues regarding this particular matter which has been brought before the House as a point of order by Honorable Kimani Kuria. The substantive speaker will give a well-considered decision on it by way of a communication when that communication will be ready. Thank you. So next order.
Order number 8, the Kenya Roads Board Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 18 of 2024, second reading.
This is the matter under order number 8 will stand stood down or deferred to a future date. Next order. And honorable members, be notified. Reaching or, repeating point of order necessarily is itself a disorderly conduct. And it can cost you very heavily. It can cost you very heavily. I don't want to go that direction. Let us keep to the business of the House. Next order.
Order number 9, motion. The first report on the implementation status of House resolutions on committee reports and public petitions.
This one is for resumption of debates. The balance of time is 2 hours, 12 minutes. Who is speaking to this? The Honorable Adanaji. The Honorable Adanaji. You want to speak?
No, I don't want to speak to this.
To the matter under order 9. Yes, the Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi. The Honorable Minority Whip. Minority Whip, we are on the matter under order number 9 in the motion. I'm seeing your request here. Do you want to speak to this one?
Thank you, Chair. If you could give me after the next person, Chair, because I was still consulting Honorable Kajwang and I thought we were still on the issue of the Senate and the National Assembly. You know, we traditionally come from the same area and we are consulting something to do with the 10th of this month, which I'm sure you are also familiar with. And so if you can give me after the next person has spoken. Thank you.
Thank you, Minority Whip. Anybody who wants to speak to this matter, please go to intervention. Yeah, there being no more interest in the matter, where is the mover? I order that the mover replies. The mover here is, who is the mover of the Chairperson Committee of Implementation? The Honorable Raphael Wanjala. Honorable Raphael Wanjala has been in the House. It's not in the House. The mover will be replying the next time the House Business Committee will schedule this particular one. Next order.
Order number 10, motion. Alleged unfair trade practices by foreign investors in Kenya.
The Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Trade, Industry and Cooperatives. He has not been in the House the whole of today. I've never seen the Chairperson for the relevant departmental committee. This particular one will be deferred to a future date. Next order.
Order number 11, the Universities Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 38 of 2023, second reading.
Yeah, the Chairperson, Public Investments Committee on Governance and Education. We're ready to move.
Honorable Speaker, I request that we defer that order because the Education Committee has not given the report so as to know how we move forward.
When will the report be ready?
This is for Meli's report, Education Committee.
Are you saying it is the Education Committee to process this bill for purposes of second reading?
The move of the bill.
Yes, so it is the Education Committee to do so.
Education Committee needs to table a report
You are right.
in this House.
You are right. On your request and with that information, the matter under order number 11 is deferred to
Thursday.
a future date. A future date when it will be scheduled by the House Business Committee. Next order. Yes, the Minority Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is actually what we were speaking to earlier. And I would want to encourage especially also the majority side that you need to take this issue seriously. If you have chairs of committees that are not doing their work, they're the ones who are making the National Assembly look bad, and they're the ones that are enabling Senate to come on and take on our work, and then we come here and complain. Right now, we have just gone through 3 orders that relate to committees, and the chairs are not there. Mr. Speaker, this is totally unacceptable, and we need to deal, because even when the chairs are not there, because we know we have many, many roles, they need to actually make arrangements for somebody else. There are many members of the committees that can do that task. This is not taking work seriously, and I would want to encourage that the majority side need to look at that, and if the members who are tired of doing their work, on our side we have very many members who are willing to take up that work. Thank you.
The Honorable Undo can lead a committee. The Honorable Bissau can lead a committee. The Honorable TJ Kajwang represented the chair, is chair of Transport Committee here very well. So I cannot agree more. The Honorable Millie. Next order. The Honorable Owen Bayer, the Deputy Majority Leader.
I want to say this, Honorable Speaker, taking cue from the Honorable Millie Odhiambo and other members. And I want to address the chairs and the vice chairs. We don't lack people in this, members in this House to chair those committees. We don't lack. And when we have given you a responsibility as such to lead a committee of the House, we expect you to be diligent, we expect you to be in the House, and we expect you to do your work. And that is what we agreed in Naivasha a week ago. The chairs will be in this